special thank you to all of my channel members: Andrew Peacock, Speed Racer Enjoyer, Maria, James Sucks, Sigurdar Floatsunis, Michael Marcellus, JHS Gove, Skimp, Pix, Box, Float, Andreas Anderson, Vince Tremblay 1234, Luke Wenzel, Riley Bergen, Isaiah Robeson, Kian, Noble Bowls, Philly Fitz, Evan Foot, and Micah Carter. Thank you to all of my channel members for your continued support. It was funny there just then I noticed the way I pronounced H. I sort of subconsciously, without thinking about it, pronounced it as H. Which I've noticed I've done it a couple times now. It's something that has started since I've moved here. I know that, moving to another country in my late 20s, early 30s, I'm never going to develop an accent any different than the one I already have, but I've already noticed little language tics, words that I say differently now, or words that I use that I did not use prior. Like, I default now to saying rubbish instead of trash, rubbish bin instead of trash can, car park instead of parking lot. These are just sort of defaulted now in my brain. It's interesting. Anyway, let's come into the sheet. Week 11. And this Jets-Patriots game will be on TV as this video goes live. And even though the Jets are coming off of a victory, which I was shocked by. Wait, they did win, didn't they? Yes, they did. They did win. This Patriots team is so good, and they've become so good so quickly. I really have a hard time picking against them at the moment. I think they're somewhere in the top 8 in my personal power rankings. Like, no particular order. My top 8: Seahawks, Rams, Lions, Chiefs, Eagles, Patriots, and Colts. Some combination of those teams. Texans versus Titans. Titans coming off a bye week. Texans with a very impressive comeback victory against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think the Titans will take the win here. Did I say Titans? I meant Texans. I think the Texans will take the win here against the Titans. I think this one will maybe be close-ish, but I'll take the Texans. Bengals versus Steelers now. Steelers coming off of an absolutely shocking performance like last week. Was not a good game from the Steelers. I mentioned in my review, like, this might be the time now where Aaron Rodgers is like officially washed. Obviously it's only one game, you don't want to overreact, but honestly I think there's only been 1 or 2 games does have the ability to light things up on offense. I'm not so sure about their defense. They're coming off a bye week, so maybe something has changed, but I think this Bengals team is some of the worst coaching in the league. Zach Taylor is a joke and needs to be gone. We didn't talk about it last week because they were on a bye week, but the week before, like, the complete lack of accountability on the defense. There's just no real team cohesion, it seems like, and no real accountability coming down from the head coach. So I really do feel like this one could go anyway, but I might give it to the Bengals. Chargers, Jaguars, the injuries to the offensive line, it was not an issue last week for the Chargers. I thought that it would be. But that being said, for the Chargers, this Jaguars team has a very potent defense, especially coming off that edge and like putting pressure on Justin Herbert, maybe getting sacks. I could see that being an issue for the Chargers in this game. And the Jaguars are sort of, to an extent now, in like do or die mode. They don't have that much time to get this thing back on track. Secure a wild card position, secure a playoff spot, because despite their record, I think that they probably are deserving of being in the playoffs. This should be a playoff team. So I think the Jaguars will be hungry this game. I think that the defense will have an exceptional game against a weakened Chargers offensive line, which admittedly did not hurt them last week, but I think it'll hurt them this week. And as long as they can hang on and not allow late game fourth quarter comebacks like they did against the Texans, this Chargers team, Justin Herbert, he could play hero and do a lot of damage, but I think the Jaguars will weather that storm and come out on top. Okay. We have the Chiefs versus the Broncos. Broncos won one of the worst games I've ever watched last week. Truly a game I wish I could have, get that time back in my life. I'll be on my deathbed and I'll be thinking about how I wasted my time watching that Broncos game. The Chiefs have, this is the first of their two matchups. I think their next matchup is actually on Christmas Day. That'll be a fun game. The Chiefs, going back to 2020, are like 8-2 against the Broncos. They've split the season series the last 2 years, 1-1. Just after that showing last week, I have a hard time picking the Broncos. The Chiefs coming off a full bye instead of a mini bye. I might take them there, and I'm going to take the Ravens here. I really was all in on the Browns last week. I thought the Browns were going to have a really good game, carried by the defensive side of the ball, and they ended up losing that. The Ravens came out with an extremely strong showing last week. I think Lamar Jackson was kind of like, don't forget about me. Like, I'm still him. Like, don't forget. And I think the Ravens will get the win here. Who did the Ravens beat last week? I forgot. The Vikings. Yeah, the Vikings. And the Browns lost to the Jets. Yeah, you don't get to lose to the Jets and then get picked to win next week. Not in my predictions. Okay. In our conference games, we have a Spanish game. Is it just me, or there's legit only been 1 week this year where there's not been an international game? Maybe 2 weeks, but I swear there's at least been 10 or 11 international games games now at this point. I will take the Dolphins here, though. This is a crazy game going to Spain after both these teams played last week. I don't know, this could be a gong show. Mariota leading the Commanders, both these teams coming off. Now the Dolphins won, Commanders came off a loss. But both teams played last week and you're sending them to Spain. Why didn't they send teams that came off byes, Chiefs and Bengals or something? Do it. 2 teams gonna have a bye. That just seems. This is gonna be a really bad game. The teams are gonna be exhausted. Buccaneers, Bills. Part of me wants to think that the Bills will have a fire, under their feet. They'll be coming out hungry and ready to prove the doubters wrong and get their groove back. But at this point, I'm just not confident they can get their groove back. These are two teams here, the Buccaneers and the Bills, that are both teams that are expecting to be in the playoffs. They should be playoff teams. Both teams have fancied themselves contenders, particularly the Bills in this situation. But they're both teams coming off losses. The Bills' loss was definitely a game they should have won. The Buccaneers' loss was perhaps a little bit more understandable, but these are both teams that are looking to right the ship to a certain extent. I think the Bills are theoretically more capable of doing that. I think they are the healthier team right now. But like I said last week, Josh Allen's body language has not been great. It feels like the Bills don't have that same sort of fire that they did the last couple of years. I feel like they don't think they can win a Super Bowl this year. I might take the Buccaneers here and give me the Cowboys over the Raiders on that Monday game as well. I don't know how you can pick this Raiders team in good faith to win a football game. How much they lose by last week? Oh yeah, they lost that terrible Broncos game. That's right. Okay. Now we have the chance for revenge. Our Week 1 matchup: Bears versus Vikings. That come from behind. Massive comeback victory for the Vikings. J.J. McCarthy playing hero. And I popped off after that game Week 1. I was talking all sorts of smack against the Bears, which I've since retracted because the Bears now look really good, and J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings are looking a little bit more pedestrian as of late. I think that Caleb Williams is going to get his revenge. Caleb heard all the stuff that was being said about him that week, myself included. I'm not saying he heard what I said, but, he heard, those lines of thinking and talking. And I think this Bears team has only gotten better since then. They look more cohesive, better chemistry. He's been balling out. The Vikings are coming off a tough loss. I'm going to take the Bears to win this. Panthers, Falcons. Honestly, these are two teams I just do not have strong opinions on at this point in the season. As things have sort of shaken out and fallen, these are teams that have sort of fallen off my radar a bit because they're not going to be a factor as we get closer to the postseason. The Falcons potentially more so, but I had really high expectations coming into this season for this Falcons team. I thought they'd be a strong playoff, team. They could win around. At this point, I no longer believe that, so I've kind of chilled out on them a little bit, but I guess I'll still take them here. Packers versus Giants. New head coach in New York. Packers coming off an awful, ugly loss Packers did lose, didn't they? That was that. Yeah, that Eagles game. God, yeah, they're on their side of that Eagles game. I'm gonna take the Giants, I think. I don't know. I just have a feeling I think they're gonna coach. They'll get a coach bounce. Oh, I know Jameis Winston's in. Yeah, I'll take the Packers. I forgot Jameis Winston was in. Seahawks, Rams. Okay. So you all know, unless you're a new viewer, I am a Seahawks fan. And I have been over the moon about how this team has played this year. Some outlets have the Seahawks as the #1 power ranking team in the NFL. Some have us 2, 3, 4. Usually the Rams are right there with us. I do worry about this game. I feel like the Rams, the thing is really is that McVay just has our number. And I thought it was just a Pete Carroll thing. But it's been a Mike McDonald thing as well. So, I think it's just a Sean McVay hates the Seahawks as our number. And both these teams have been playing really well, but I just have a feeling the Rams will win this, especially being in LA. But also, this is a pro move called hedging your bets. So, if I'm wrong about my prediction and the Seahawks win, obviously I will be ecstatic because we beat the Rams for the first time in like 5 years, it feels like. And if the Rams win, then I get an extra point in my predictions. I can at least take solace in that. So I'm hedging my bets. Niners, Cardinals. I just have a hard time picking the Cardinals at this point. I'm sorry, Cardinals fans. I know some of you are in here. And finally, Lions, Eagles. I'm taking the Lions. That Eagles team that, only put 10 points up against in that Packers game. Like, Jalen Hurts would not throw the ball. AJ Brown has been publicly, talking about how dissatisfied he is with his lack of targets. The ball is just not being thrown enough, especially his direction. I mentioned this before, this Eagles team has a good record and, could even theoretically go back to a Super Bowl, but that does not mean that there's not issues behind the scenes. I think there are a lot of teams right now in this league that have really big, glaring issues, but despite those issues, are still winning games. And I think it's just, honestly, it's more of an indictment on the level that the league is at the moment than anything else, but that's just my hot take. Now we go in for our extra points. So, highest combined score. Highest combined score, I think. Seahawks, Rams. These are two powerhouse offenses. Both put up 40 plus points last week. This game could easily total 70, 80 points when you put it all together. Lowest combined score. Give me the international game. I just think both these teams are not going to be feeling 100%. So give me that for your lowest combined score. Most passing yards in a game. Most passing yards. I cannot pick the same game twice, so it'll probably be this team here. It'll probably be this game, one of these two teams with those passing yards. I might go for Drake May against the Jets. I think Drake May might have the most passing yards this week and the most combined rushing yards for a team. Cowboys, but they're both playing pretty good defenses. I'm seeing like who will run the ball, like Tampa Bay, but Falcons. Maybe the Falcons. Yeah, give me the Falcons. I said to pick one, Falcons. So those are my predictions and my predicted extra points for week 11 of the NFL season. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you again to all of my channel members. I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this every single week. Till next time, guys.